on the lower side. Temperatures will be 39 over Navongo, Boku, Sandema, and East environs, 35 over Kumasi, Sunyani, Techimai, Katekraji, and their surroundings. For Greater Accra, Cape Coast, South Pond, Takrady, Asim, we are expecting temperatures to range between 33 and 34. For our fisher folks, the state of the sea today too is expected to be rough. But we don't have massive rain and thunderclouds over the sea, so they can do fishing activities, but they have to know the state, the tides, and every other thing is expected to be rough, so they have to be a bit careful. For the water lake too, it's pretty cold this morning, though they are having mist and some fog patches over some areas. By mid-morning, they expect it to clear, so they can also do their fishing activities. In the late afternoon, there is 30% chance of a thunderstorm cloud forming over the lake, but it's not in terms of the area coverage, it's going to be on the lower side, so they can or they can avoid it so that they can go ahead and do their activities. So for today, this is how we are expecting it to be.
Thank you so much for that, Felicity. Thank you for that weather update. We'll connect with you again tomorrow morning. And that was Felicity Appiah-Ampofo, chief forecaster with the Ghana Met, giving us an update on what the weather should look like today. Just to recap, northern Ghana will remain dry and hazy during this period. Now over southern Ghana, we're expecting generally fair weather, low probability of rain or thunder showers later in the day over a few areas in the southwest. We will keep you updated if anything does change. We're also very interactive on our socials. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and also on Twitter. We are at 3FM 92.7. On Twitter in particular, catch us at 3FM 927, all one word. You know, we have a question and a poll of the day each and every morning. Get involved. Share your views and opinions. Of course, retweet, like, and share. Very shortly, we will be getting into the news review. For my early risers, though, do check out 3news.com. We have the latest in sports, business, entertainment, you name it. A number of stories, of course. DDEP, there's a huge trust deficit. Joe Jackson there of Dalex Finance. Captured on 3news.com. Do you share in that sentiment? Connect with us. You can also share your opinion via WhatsApp 050-306-2295. All your thoughts are welcome.
3FM Sunrise.
We're fighting for issuer exemption, pensioners tell Oforieta. You can also find that story on 3news.com. Still some back and forth. Is it really voluntary? What does exemption mean? We'll talk about it this morning. Now, if you've been following along with us, you know that former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Edu Anane-Antwi, he's one of the pensioners calling for their exemption from the domestic debt exchange. He says they're fighting for issuer exemption and not self-exemption. He stated that these are two completely different things. Again, what are your thoughts on this? Should pensioners be picketing? Or at this stage, is it still much ado about nothing? Connect with us on our socials. Again, at 3FM 92.7. Well, Dr. Edu Anane-Entry goes on to say, if you don't understand the issue between self-exempt and issuer-exempt, you will not understand what we are doing. He said this yesterday on Ghana Tonight with Alfred. He added, nobody fights for self-exemption. We are fighting for issuer exemption, and we haven't gotten it. These are technical things. Not even people in securities understand unless we do the analysis. We want to be at the issuer exemption status. Now, these comments come after Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta told them that there was no need for them to continue picketing over their inclusion in the debt exchange.
3FM Sunrise.
Some technicalities there, but of course we do have our lenses firmly on the DDEP. We'll break down some of the jargon and bring you some non-convoluted conversations so you and I can get better understanding on what exactly is happening.
We could do, it's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. We can make it better. Alright. Sweeter than ever.
Grace.
Perfect by grace.
Yes.
We love that. How did you sleep?
Perfect. You know, my sleep is always perfect.
Wow. You need to give us the full formula.
Yeah, it's just grace.
Let me say,
because the troubles of the world, if they hit you hard, but they hit me softly, so I sleep well.
we love that. A good night's sleep is very important. I think adults are tasked to get some. Is it 6 hours, 7 hours? Does it really matter?
Yeah. I think there's a difference between sleeping and resting.
Okay.
You can sleep, but you'll be dreaming dreams. You wake up sweating.
You're tired from the dream.
Yeah. So when you sleep and you wake up and you don't remember anything, it means you have had a good sleep. And that's what I always gets.
When you don't even remember the
Yeah.
dream.
When you sleep and you're thinking about bond domestic debt exchange, you're thinking about...
This is self-exemption, issuer exemption.
Or you are going to do something that your heart is consciously or unconsciously beating. You don't go to sleep and think that you have a good sleep when you're in that state. You are going to do something. Something. You've done something that is hitting you hard. My sister, you won't sleep.
They say no rest for the wicked.
You go to bed with a clear mind, a happy heart. You have a baby sleep.
We love that. We have a few newspapers in front of us. Myself and William will run through the headlines and then we'll take some details. The Ghanaian Times this morning has this to say. Enskinment of new Boku Naba illegal. That's coming from government. We'll look at that. It's on page 11 of the Ghanaian Times. Government to push passage of consumer protection law soon. Caretaker Trade Minister Honorable Abu Jinapo is pictured here on the front page. Also, read the law well. AG responds to CDD. The fallout of that captured on page 3. We will get some details. Kolebu names isolation ward for infectious children after Brianna Fusua Adai. We'll get into that. It's on page 14. I've also got the Daybreak newspaper. in front of me. The front page has this to say: some judge roars at GRA rot, vows to blow cover off shady contracts. Well, he's pictured here. We'll get into that certainly. Another more vocal and boisterous member of parliament. Ejura shooting victims compensated. You've got a picture of a check here, captured here. And Bawumia Commission's National Kids Library. Truly exciting. We need more activities for our young ones to indulge in, more libraries, more interactive activities. We talk about even going outside and being able to play, having the infrastructure to learn and enjoy themselves. A bit lacking, even in places like the capital where you expect more of that sort of thing. We don't have that. But National Kids Library has been commissioned. I think that's great news.
This morning we have the anchor, and it says revealing the truth. On the front page of the anchor, NDC's plots for Akufo-Addo's men in 2025 out. Mahama's aid reveals there will be gnashing of teeth and people will run. It will be heavier than a coup, suggesting that when they come to power, they will chase all those who have touched something that they shouldn't have touched. Resign or we push you out. Dr. Park others bear teeth at Education Minister. And Bosa MP donates delivery kits to Health Center. The Daily Graphic: GES releases SHS placement, and purported enskriment of Bokunaba illegal. That's according to the government. Develop means to maximize natural resources benefits. Some Okujeto advocates. That's on the front page of the Daily Graphic. We'll get into the details soon.
All right, the Business Finder also here, hot off the press. Commit to zero fiscal financing. Economists tell Bank of Ghana and Finance Ministry. We've got plans to take government off central bank support, and Newmont invest some 1.4 million Ghana cedis in training at Chim Youth. Let's get into the story here. Bank of Ghana, of course, front and center these days with everything that we've been going through. Now, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has indicated that plans are afoot to take government of central bank support to make the bank's inflation targeting and interest rate policy targets achievable. This is in spite of the fact that the governor has defended the central bank's decision to finance government expenditure in 2022, stating that the economy would have been destabilized if the Bank of Ghana had not stepped in. And there was a story, I think it was on the Finder newspaper. There was a big story on page 2. I think it was sometime this week, maybe Monday, where Bank of Ghana was saying, had they not intervened last year, gone above the legal thresholds, we would have found ourselves in an even deeper mess. But they say there's plans to wean government off the Bank of Ghana's teeth so that Bank of Ghana can have a bit of reprieve. The governor explained that the situation became unsustainable by mid-2022, leading the government's decision to seek support from the IMF. They admitted that the financing from the central bank was needed until we had a plan, said Dr. Addison. We have been discussing this plan with the IMF over the last 3 to 6 months and finally had a staff-level agreement in December. One of the key objectives of the IMF program, according to Dr. Addison, was to ensure that the revenue and expenditure plan for 2023 does not require central bank financing, making the central bank's interest rate policy more effective. So, of course, we keep our lenses firmly on this one as well because of its implications. Can government rein itself in when it comes to, again, sucking from Bank of Ghana's teeth?
The Daily Guide: read the law well, you are wrong. That's what Attorney General tells CDD. I'm sure it's in connection with the Auditor General's report. He insists that his directive to the Auditor General is per the law. Presidential jet is back. I can see a photograph of the presidential jet. I don't know whether they went to repair it. It has Republic of Ghana boldly written on it. And Ejura victims get 1.28 million cedis in compensation. Boku chief rejected, and NDC strips Haruna Idrisu. And let me just catch that one. The minority has removed its former leader Haruna Idrisu from his committee posts in a sign of escalating tensions with the opposition National Democratic Congress.
Who's capturing the story? The Daily
Guide.
Eyes. Interesting.
In the name of recomposition, the NDC Tamale South MP was ousted from key and influential committees such as the House Committee, Business Committee, Appointment Committee, Special Budget Committee, and Committee on Selection, and assigned to the Committee on Environment, Science and Technology. So according to the Daily Guide, these committees are higher and bigger than a Committee on Environment, Science and Technology, and they were expecting Haruna to be on those and not the environment one.
As per my understanding, I think what we're told is once you are no longer the majority leader, automatically the committees that you were serving on in the capacity of leader, you step down from those and you might be reassigned. So I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah, but the way they have put the story is as if they have actually demoted him. And this is strips Haruna. Why strips? This is English.
Also, I think we've moved on past this one, haven't we?
Ejura victims get 1.28 million cedis. The government has paid 1.28 million compensation to the 3 injured victims of the Ejura shooting incident. Per checks issued to the families cited by Daily Guide, Louise Ayepa received 347,953 Ghana cedis. Nasif Nuhu got 192,425 Ghana cedis, and Awal Mesbao was given 678,519 Ghana cedis. This follows legal advice given by the Attorney General in July last year for compensation to be paid. In a letter, AG Godfrey Yebuadame advised government to compensate 3 injured victims of the incident to the tune of about 1.28 million. So that's good news for them.
That's great.
Hopefully
news.
they'll take care of their hospital bills and restructure their lives and get back.
Absolutely. Let's go back to the Ghanaian Times. Man jailed 4 years for stabbing driver's mate. Now the Adenta Circuit Court has sentenced Wisdom Ade, 24. He didn't exercise good wisdom that day. To 4 years imprisonment for stabbing a driver's mate for urinating behind his bathhouse at Adenta. He was fed up, just fed up. Now Wisdom Ade, unemployed, was also ordered by the court to pay some 2,000 cedis as compensation to the victim, Asana Abu Salam. The accused, now convict, is said to have stabbed the victim several times on his chin, the neck, and abdomen with a broken bottle.
Wow.
That's going to be very painful. Charged with causing harm, Wisdom Ade pleaded guilty, and his accomplice, whose name was given as Selassie Ade, was at large. Wisdom Ade told the court, presided over by Mrs. Sedinam Baloka, to give him the opportunity to pay the medical bills of the victim and promised not to repeat the conduct. Well, we're told that on January 17 this year, the complainant, who lived close to Ade's house, urinated behind the bathhouse of the convict. Inspector Aban said Ade, who was bathing, came out. So he rushed out. He was in the middle of having his bath, spotted that somebody was urinating behind the bathhouse, came out in a fit of rage, stabbed this individual in the chin, neck, and abdomen. And well, now he has to pay some bills and spend some time behind bars. It's not acceptable.
This points to the issue we've been raising on this show about the toilet facilities, urinals, people build houses without bathrooms and so on and so forth. And it's something that as a country, you see people writing, do not urinate here on their walls, and somebody will go and stand in front of that and urinate.
Yes.
And it also comes to the point that there's no discipline, there are no standards when it comes to those things. And then this brings up to the story of the assistant headmaster who went to the bush to attend to the call of nature. So I'm sure the court gave him 4 years for such a heinous crime because they also looked at the circumstances.
That's right.
And realized that, look, the gentleman did something wrong. So, urinating in front of my house or behind my house is not something that we should encourage.
That's right.
But of course, that should not degenerate into such actions. But
Absolutely.
Broken bottles in somebody's abdomen, neck, that's too much. That's too much for
hit an important vein and died.
The reaction was an overkill. You know. Boku, back to Boku, a purported enskinment of Boku Naba, or chief for the Boku traditional area, has met with condemnation and non-recognition by government. In a statement on the subject, the Information Ministry pointed out government condemns developments in Nalerigu concerning the purported enskinment of a new Boku Naba as illegal and a threat to national security. Yesterday or the day before, Adib Sani was literally warning the chiefs in the area not to go ahead with this scheme because it was against good conscience, it was a threat to national security, and they went ahead and did it, and the government has come to condemn it and saying that the action is a threat to national security. Government, in view of the development, has reiterated its recognition of Naba Asigri let me take it slowly.
Take it slowly first.
Naba Asigri Abugrago Azoka II as the Boku Naba, a duly gazetted and a member of the National and Upper East Regional Houses of Chiefs. So if a certain individual has been gazetted, has been recognized by the National House of Chiefs, the Regional House of Chiefs, why would another chief go and skin another person as the same chief to come and occupy the same scheme? This is just recipe for disaster, recipe for chaos, and it shouldn't be encouraged. The individuals out there in Boku should not use this chieftaincy thing to drive the conflict because people are dying.
That's
right.
And
it's unfortunate it's coming from the top in terms of traditional leadership. And that's why I'm saying that this chieftaincy thing has not really helped. A lot of the conflicts we have around this country are just an offshoot of disagreements in the chieftaincy space, and it's something that the government must put its feet down through the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs to check this. So we are hoping that Asabi, when he gets the nod, should move swiftly into action and address some of these things.
Is it getting frustrating seeing that there's no end in sight? There's layer upon layer, and it's quite complex. Hearing from our colleague Ibrahim Abubakar about the state of affairs, not being able to find water, businesses having to shut down, children not being able to go to school. We have to see an end in sight.
But the question is that a priority? Was it necessary for the chief to install another chief, knowing that part of the problem in Boku is chieftaincy? So why did he ride above that to come and just do this? Was it to establish his authority, to stop the chaos? What was the objective? What was the objective for going ahead to flout all good conscience, good counsel, go ahead, do this, and then escalate the situation in Boku?
We know the government is deploying some 5,000 extra security personnel to the area. Things have escalated to the point where this is necessary. We'll talk more about that today when we're joined by security experts, Dr. Adam Bona and the rest. Government to push passage of consumer protection law soon. Caretaker Trade Minister. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, has commended the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu-Jinapor, for his diligence to duty. The Speaker therefore urged ministers in the current regime and future ministers to emulate Mr. Jinapor, who is the Caretaker Minister for Trade and Industry. Mr. Bagbin's commendation follows the presentation of what he said was a well-researched policy statement on consumer protection in Ghana by the minister, who is also the MP for Damongo. Now, in the presentation on the floor of Parliament in Accra yesterday, ahead of the Consumer Rights Day on March 15, that's in about a month's time, Mr. Jinapor traced the history of consumer protection over the centuries across jurisdictions and its importance to the protection of consumer rights and the need for Ghana to have such a law. He said, "Let me thank the minister for always giving Parliament prior notice of very key interventions he wants to make, particularly dealing with policy and legislation. I think the industry of the minister needs commendation, and I call on other ministers to emulate that good example, not only in his regime, but future regimes." I think that's very commendable. The Speaker of Parliament talking about the work that went into bringing this policy statement together, tracing it back to its origins. If all the ministries bring such well thought out policies and policy statements, I think it will be a step in the right direction. William, you often talk about the caliber of MPs we have, of ministers we have, and if they are really up to par, up to scratch.
Anytime I speak about the caliber of MPs, I must put on record that is not my original idea.
Okay.
It is coming from the majority leader, who is the head of government business, who is the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, who has a lot of insights into what goes on in the Chamber of Parliament's committee level, interacting with the individuals, and he has come out to say that the caliber of individuals that we vote for into that house, Akakakra, because as I've always said, the parties literally are, pushing people who can pay a lot of money to get votes at the delegates level. The parties appointing people who have contributed to the party's victory or something positive about the party, so they give them appointments. And when it comes to some of these stories, the one that comes up sharply for me is Ken Ofori-Atta, because I'm tempted to believe that besides the fact that he's the president's cousin or relative, his involvement in the run-up to the 2016 election was so paramount. He was on the streets. I don't know whether you saw him sharing pamphlets.
That's right.
I mean, actively campaigning for the party. So maybe when they sat down and said, look, you did a good job, let's give you this big job. And I don't think he was ready for it.
You don't think he
No,
was
he
ready
wasn't
for
ready.
it?
Because look, his background, he's just a money doubler. I mean, if you're an investment banker, what do? You take money, double, take your interest. And that's what he has come to do. And that's why we are wallowing in debt. So if you are looking for somebody to run the economy, we should look for somebody who has economic planning background, who has financial background, who has political background. Because corporate finance is not the same as running the economy of the state. It is far different, because if you are running the economy of the state, you have to take a lot of interest into consideration. Pensioners are crying, and you are just moving on because you think you have to do something to get the IMF bailout. That will happen in the corporate environment.
That's an interesting perspective, William. You often say that because you say really economic planning is at the heart of what...
When we're growing up, it was Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. But these days, we've even dropped the economic planning. So everything is about finance, get the money. And then, as of Otumfo said, get fancy projects, pump the monies inside. Then we are here.
We've dropped the economic planning because now we have an economic management team. They are managing the affairs. And I mean, have they been disbanded? We need an official statement.
I reserve the right not to comment on all issues, and I don't want to comment on that.
Let's move on.
As for the economic management team, I don't want to talk about them.
Let's move on. This one you're talking about chocolate. GTA Fair Afrique donate chocolates to Jolu's special school. Now, last Tuesday was Valentine's Day, but for us, National Chocolate Day. We've dubbed it Chocolate Day. And William, do you think we've done a good job at marketing cocoa-based products? Valentine's Day, Chocolate Day. I think in previous years I've seen more enthusiasm and more zeal in celebrating Chocolate Day. It might have been 2021 or maybe even 2020 where we saw more efforts, being put forth to market our chocolate. I didn't see too much.
So yesterday I mentioned Mr. Jacobi Chibilamte, now deceased, who was the Minister for Tourism, who I'm told started the Chocolate Day thing, and even started the Joseph's project that got us into Year of Return. You see, it's the sustenance of some of these policies and projects that will yield the results. I read the story of a Kenyan ambassador in China who was making personal efforts to push coffee. The Chinese are literally tea people.
That's right.
But he was trying to market coffee to them. And now I've said that marketing chocolate, we should look at the international market and how Ghana can flood the world with golden tree chocolate or made in Ghana chocolate. That will mean more production here and more money for us. And if we're able to export, we're going to get more foreign exchange. But if you go on the market, it's true. I mean, Valentine's Day, we saw a lot of Golden Tree chocolate and other brands on the market. But the price is so high. A bar of chocolate, the medium one, 10 cedis, the big one, 15 cedis. And this economy, I wonder how many people can afford. So although we may have a lot of chocolate on the market, the Ghanaian is not able to afford. And are we able to also market it well on the international market to get us the foreign exchange that we need? So if we really want to create an industry, it mustn't be a 15th February or 14th February affair. It must be a well thought out project. We should take it like a project. Have a vision to say we are going to supply Ghana-made chocolate to about half of the world. Within 6 months, target a certain amount of money to be made in a year.
That's ambitious, but not impossible.
Yes, because we have missions all over the world, and I'm asking, what are these high commissioners and ambassadors doing? I'm sure we have trade officers, we have tourism officers in this.
So that they could even promote it on Valentine's Day. Say, Chocolate Day from where I come from, sample this, sample that. Yeah.
So we have maybe trade missions to these countries, like we had the Maltese coming recently. I was there, as I said.
Yeah.
So we should have Ghanaian chocolate manufacturers coming together to visit, say, Switzerland, visit other parts of Europe, go to Asia, and then Latin America, and say, look, this is what we have. We're looking for partners in terms of malls or shopping centers that will market our product. We should be conscious about it. It's
And
not
if
just-
these things are actually already happening, we should also be made aware of some of these interventions because we're curious. It's our money that is being used for this. So if it's happening, let's know.
Because if it's chocolates and we're saying chocolate day, what's the objective? Is it just to make it popular? Ghana chocolate, well, it's popular. Are we able to buy? Are we able to export? Are we able to make more money? How are we promoting made in Ghana chocolates around? And I've seen a lot of other brands coming up besides the Golden Tree chocolate.
All right, we'll park it here for the news review. Of course, our resident biter is here. He's going to be biting shortly. But what do you consider an